I want to touch on press releases as well, because this is something which I think is important to understand when it comes to how to write a press release. And often with releases that and feedback that we've gotten over the years and people that's new to the media side of things, it does help to understand how a press release works. I think very often people are very good at English when they go have English as a subject at school, and when you're told to write an article or a story, you have a very clear start, middle, and ending. And very often with the story that you tell, you end on a big bang as an ending. But that all turns on its head when you write a press release. You have to have a punchy headline that's going to grab the attention, first of all, of the journalist as well as the reader. Because there's so much information and so many press releases that land in a journalist's inbox, you need to catch their attention. So make sure that you have a very punchy headline. So the very, very first paragraph needs to open with the big bang. So don't wait until the end of your article. That first paragraph is what needs to say the what, who, where, when, how. Exactly everything that's happened. Because basically, when a journalist or the editor edits an article and they edit your media release, they cut from the bottom upwards. So everything that's at the bottom is going to be lost. So make sure that you have everything possible, all the most important bits and pieces in that first paragraph. Then go into how do I know? Then go into the essentials. Have quotes, and I highly recommend having 2 different quotes, either from the CEO, somebody else to give, because this gives color to the media release. It also gives more credibility, and it makes the release a lot more interesting to read as well. It gives a voice to your media release. Is there anything else? Most importantly as well, with anything else, is to include contact information. So if somebody wants more information about something, where can they contact you? And then the release will end with ends, and it normally has 3 little hashtags at the end of the release to show that it has come to an end. This is the end of the release. Then, just as an added thing, very often you'll see at the bottom of a press release has something called a boilerplate. And this boilerplate just provides more generic overview and information about the organization, where it comes from, what are their vision, their values, what it stands for, and anything else in case the journalist just wants a little bit more background information of this organization. So contact information, any notes to the editor would then also appear at the end. So something else just to keep in mind, it's normal to refer to the person by their surname once they've been introduced. So, for example, in an article that you write, it would first of all say, for example, Regine Leroux, founder and managing director of Reputation Matters, says, and then in quotation marks, whatever the specific quote is. And incidentally, when you're referring to somebody's title, for example, founder and managing director, account manager, specialist, that is written in small letters. And then from there on, I would then be referred to as Leroux. My first name isn't used in the rest of the article. The surname is. It's just the protocol, and writing in that way makes it a lot easier for the journalist to use your article. Where possible, include stats, as I've mentioned previously at the beginning of this session. And generally, a media release is about 500 words long. That's basically the length of one page. Anything longer doesn't get used as easily. And also keep in mind, in an age of lots of information, try and keep the information short and sweet. The journalist is there to tell a story, not to sell your brand. And I think that's very important, is to make sure when you write your article is to provide information. It's not there to sell your products. If that's the purpose of your media release, the publication, the media channel are going to tell you buy advertising. The purpose of public relations, of media liaison, is to get a story across, to make sure that we educate It's not there to sell a specific brand. So just incidentally, and just to add at this point as well, why public relations and media liaison is a lot more credible. When you buy advertising space, you are buying a specific spot and you are going to control the message, and you know exactly that on page 3 or 3 minutes past 5 on a Tuesday, this is your space, this is the message, you are controlling it, you're paying for that. But with public relations and media liaison, you are getting a third party to report on a story, to report on your company, to report on information. You don't have any control whether they are actually going to use your media release, whether they are going to get your messages out there, they're going to communicate it correctly. So that's why it's important to invest in a company that can help you manage your media on your behalf, to make sure that they craft the message in such a way that journalists want to use your story, that they want to include the information, the stats that you have shared with them. That is why it's seen as 3-4 times more valuable to have an article, an interview, opposed to an advert. Because if you think of it, if you listen to the radio or watching TV, you pretty much fast forward through the adverts, or you just zone out when you hear an advert. Companies need to advertise at least, at minimum, 4 times before somebody will actually recognize or hear the advert. But if they are more likely to listen to an interesting interview, read an interesting article, than see an advert. So that is why media liaison, public relations, is incredibly powerful and is a lot more credible than an advert.